How's it going, party people? My name is Caravan Dan from Gaming Caravan, and today we're going to talk about before you buy Scythe. Scythe, including the Invaders from Afar expansion. We're going to go a little bit into those expansions. We're talking about mostly the base game, though, because expansions are just additional optional content on the base game. If you don't know, we're going to be talking about facts about the game, objective, factual statements of the game. Then we're going to go into the my opinion statement. Whether you agree or disagree with it varies. You're going to hear why I think what I think about the game. Make your own decisions at the end. Starting out with the facts about Scythe. The facts, this game was published by Stonemaier Games. It plays technically 1 to 7 players. However, it is not recommended to play with that many people. I would say it really is best at 4 players, but 3 players is pretty good as well. But best is 4. Playtime is approximately 90 minutes. It really goes 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on your skill with the game and how well everyone knows it. I'd say for your first time playing for 2.5 hours. But reality, if you play it again with people who know the game, it gets down to about 90 minutes. The theme is, and I found this out from playing the Fenris expansion today, there's a full story to it. It's very interesting, and effectively it is an alternative history Europe that is attempting to have Nikola Tesla, I believe, utilize his knowledge and ability with technology to create these technological creatures, and all factions are using them for war and bloodshed, even though they're not really supposed to be designed for that. The core mechanics are area control. It's an engine builder with strong resource management ties. The unique features for this game that is like the main hook for it, I would say, is that it is an area control that is kind of anti-conflict. This game is kind of all about trying to not fight the other player. You do have to in some instances, but fighting is generally discouraged. It doesn't really do much for you. Technically, there's a faction all about war, but truly, fighting is like the last resort. If you want something someone else does and neither of you are relenting, then yes, you should go for it, go for the throat. However, that is a last resort, and this is not a game where you just keep on rolling dice or you're just going for it and just like slaying each other like crazy. This is something that if you're going in for war, it's very intentional, it's a build-up, and it's gonna hurt one of you, if not both of you. Additionally, it has very strong variability, asymmetrical features, because you get a top board, which is your faction, and a bottom board, which is how you do your turns. And they can vary, the combinations are very different. Some people get points from making mechs, some people get points from the upgrades, some people will have your strategies be based around that. Some people are going to be playing the same regardless of what their bottom abilities are. But the game very much encourages you to take alternative strategies based on the combinations of your faction and the asymmetric boards underneath. Difficulty, I would say this is a standard board game. Like a standard real board game, whatever that might be. People who like truly play board games won't find this complicated because it's deceivingly complicated, but people who've played other games for game, you do this, you do that, you get points at the end of the game, and the scoring's a little bit different, but overall it's not complicated if you've played board games. This is not baby's first board game, but this is, if people are getting used to the hobby, a great step to take. So I call this standard real weight board game. So to go into the gameplay a bit, so how to play the game is on your turn, you see your 4 columns on your board. You have column A, B, C, and D, effectively. What you're going to do is you're going to select your marker and put it on that column. You're going to do the top or bottom ability, and then you're going to do the other ability if you'd like. The top ability is always your primary action. The bottom ability will be upgrading your board and your engine in some way. Whether it is upgrading the board directly by moving the cubes from the top to the bottom, so it gives you a new ability, an expanded ability on top, because it just benefits something you already have. And at the same time, it's going to make something at the bottom of the board cost less. Or you're going to put things on the actual big player board, which is the main shared board that everyone plays on, to help you get more points, or maybe get more scoring abilities, or maybe move around the map more, whatever it might be. Or you're going to place mechs, whatever. There's a bunch of different ways to play the game, but overall it's very simple. You do the top section, or you do the bottom section, and then that's your whole turn. Your next turn, you cannot use wherever your marker currently is, so you have to move your marker and put it somewhere else. If you know Villainous, very much think Villainous. This is basically a more complicated Villainous, which is why I'm saying this isn't an introduction board game necessarily, but it's a great step up to be like a real board gamer. The game is pretty unique because there's only 4 ways to score points. It is the unique card on the bottom of the game that changes, whether it's going to be like you want to have buildings adjacent to tunnels or monuments adjacent to other structure, and then you're going to have the same 3 standard scoring options for every game you play. The higher up you get in the popularity track, the more points you score for these 3 types of scoring. You have area control. You're going to get points based on your area control. You have resources. Every 2 resources will get you a certain amount of points depending on how high up you are on the popularity track. And then you have hearts. The way the game ends is whoever puts their 6th heart on the board will end the game. In the expansion version, it just ends the game immediately, but some people like play at the 4th round, so there's equal amount of turns. Every player has 6 hearts. When you get the hearts on the board, they'll score you more points depending on how many hearts you have on the board. And that is a great way to score points. Primarily the points will be from your current income that you already have throughout the game. You will have your hearts, which will give you a good amount, and then the hexes that you control will give you a good amount. The resources will give you some, but not too much unless you have a ton of unspent resources by the end of the game. That's typically how the game will be played. Now going to my opinion about this game. Now, whether or not you agree with it is one thing, but go ahead and just listen to what I have to say, and you'll hear why to see if you have a similar thought or not. So, what I like about this game and how the game feels. The game feels really much like you are trying to avoid other players. You're not trying to step on each other's toes. If someone gets to a location before you, you're not necessarily trying to kick them off. You're really trying to see like an alternate strategy before you have to kick them off, unless you're really going with a war-torn mentality. If you're playing a faction that really uses army cards or really uses the strength tracker you have. But overall, you have to use your strength to attack other people, even if they don't use a strength to retaliate. So in reality, you get hurt by attacking someone because you lose a lot of resources. Additionally, if there's any workers on that hex that you're going into, you lose 1 popularity for every worker on that location. Now, that's a great way of taking people's resources because all your resources are on the board. And when you take over someone's location and you kick all their pieces out, you're going to get all the resources that are currently on that location because you're there and they're not anymore. So that's a cool thing to do. However, you can really get less popular by doing so, which can affect your scoring ranks, can affect your future turns, and affect whether or not you want to do it. So this game, it very much does feel like a game that you want to utilize your engine properly and utilize the resources you have without attacking as much as possible, unless that's specifically the strategy you're going for. Now going for what I like about the game, I really do like the fact that there's a strong amount of replayability. There's a very strong amount of replayability with the different factions. I think there's 5 in the base game, and then there's 2 expansion characters you can have. Or 2 expansion factions you can have from the Invaders from Afar expansion. The Invaders from Afar expansion, in my opinion, are very unbalanced. One of them's amazing. The other one's just objectively worse than one. The people who place traps are just great. People who don't place traps are worse than almost all the standard factions you can play as. The base factions also give a good amount of replayability depending on if you the powers. One power is you can actually walk through rivers. Another power is you can use your cards as resources, your battle cards as resources throughout the game. Another one will allow you to do multiple objectives, put your stars in multiple objectives, or get multiple types of combats, and so forth. So the different strategies based on the faction are very interesting. But also you can have strategies completely independent of your factions, based on the players you have and the situations on your board, which are very fun. What I dislike about this game is that technically in a 2-player game, the board feels very empty. Because this is an area control game that doesn't really get too much smaller with less amount of players you have, because the other locations are still available for the most part, but it's just harder to get to and there's less reason to go to them. But the board is pretty much the same. Additionally, in my opinion, some factions are just objectively better than others, especially if you like doing combat, but you get a non-combative board versus someone who hates combat getting a combative board. They're not playing towards what they really like, and I really like the fact that people have different strategies, different purposes in this game. It leans into kind of like a leader, root, arcs mentality of like, oh, I like doing this. I'm going to find a faction that lets me do this and just drill into a little bit more. So I feel like if you choose your factions and everyone gets a faction they're happy with, it's a good time. But if you don't get a faction you like or a faction you're happy with and you can't really see how to work with it, you're not going to have a very fun time with the game. The intended audience definitely are like core board gamers, I would say. People who are used to board gaming, because the scoring at the end of the game is kind of wonky. People forget that only certain things score you points, and people will try to like go super ham on the combat tracker because it's a reward to put 1 heart if you get 18 on the combat tracker. But the combat tracker itself doesn't give you any points, and people forget about that. So you can really win the game pretty easily your first time if you're playing with a bunch of first timers by focusing on what actually gives you points: the hexagons that you control, the hearts you have on the board, and the leftover resources you have. So if you really narrow that down and go ham on the popularity track, so you can get exponential scoring on those, you're going to outwin versus other people who aren't paying attention too much about that significantly. I know that because that's what I did the first time I played the game, based on a tip from someone who has played the game, and I won without even close to like having a second place. So the intended audience is definitely core board gamers because it is effective. Jamie, I believe, was a designer of this game who runs Stonemaier Games. He effectively was talking to core board gamers through this. This is not really an intro-friendly board game. I know people say it's easy to teach, but comparatively to something like Flip 7, Uno, Mountain Goats, it's definitely not an introduction board game. Now, would I replay this game? 100%. I am currently 2 games into a 10-game campaign from their Invaders of Fenris expansion, I believe. It is a great time. I'm very impressed with the alternative routes you can take and the variability of everyone's options based on what they can buy from their improvement mods and what money you get from each round. It's interesting how you're playing not 10 games, sorry, you're playing 8 games, and the winner of the 8th game is whoever wins the overall game. The rest of the money you win by winning the games really just gives you power and control and gets you extra money to build up your overall engine to the 8th game, which I think really does complement the overall structure of Scythe, because Scythe at its core is an engine builder, asymmetric, with strong resource management. So by leaning into the resource management of the coins, and allowing that to be a driving force of what you're buying, which builds your engine, I think it's a very well thought out and well planned expansion. But that is, again, more towards one of the expansions. The base game of the base game of Scythe, sorry, still does a great job at having those moments for players where it rewards you for having a slow build up and also rewards players for getting the pieces out fast. It really is who has the best idea and who can execute it optimally. If you have a bad idea but great execution, that sometimes wins out versus a great idea who just fumbles too much. If you're miscounting some pieces and you actually needed 3 metal and you only had 2, and you have to waste a whole extra 2 turns making the extra metal because now you have to go to another location and then go back to the original location and then you can fabricate something, it's going to cost you a lot and it can get pretty painful, especially when someone steals one of your resources by hopping into your motherland, which is like your starting location. So you can really mess people up. You can notice people doing like runaway victories and all that stuff, so you can definitely know who to target, but you can't really overall hop on one guy. It's very difficult to do anything like that and just bully a player out of the game. But you can definitely get bullied out of playing the game in certain ways if you allow yourself to and you're not paying attention. So definitely pay attention to who's going for what, who's building tunnels, who's looking for combat, who's high on the track, and be prepared for that. Now, would I buy this game? I bought this game and I had the expansions for this game. The sad part is no one at the events played it after a year. If you don't know, Gaming Caravan runs board game events throughout the year. We focus on new and upcoming games and like great classics that are like fan loved. In our almost 2 years of having Scythe, we only had to play like 3 times, which is a waste of shelf space because the game does take a lot of room and it is pretty resellable. So I was able to sell Scythe for $100 with the base games in there because Scythe was like an $8 game, expansion was like $40, and it was in pretty good condition. It's a very well thought out game. You can tell if the game's popular because if you want to get it but it does not show up on like the BGG market or Facebook Marketplace, you know it's good because no one wants to get rid of it. That's the main issue with Stonemaier games, is that they're so good you're not going to get it at a cheaper price because people don't want to sell their games. They just keep it, even if it's not that great, because they love how it looks. Apiary is a beautiful game. I don't know anyone talking highly of it, but they say it's so beautiful, the table presence is great, and it just looks good in their collection. So yes, I did buy this game. I owned it. I was very proud of it. It was very sad when we had to sell it. The overall final ranking for this game, if you don't know, I'm doing a ranking, so every game I review, I put it onto a list, and I show where this game lands out of all the other games I have reviewed, and some games I just throw on there that I played, to give you a sense of the games I enjoy and that I like. Now, this is actually kind of crazy. I did not expect it to hit this high, but after reviewing it and checking it multiple different times, I do have to say that my recent experiences with Scythe and a lower player count of 3 or 4 players, Scythe actually made it to number 2 out of 101 games. It is number 2, which means it's the second highest spot in my games, underneath my favorite game of all time, Andromeda's Edge, which I'm so excited for the Genesis campaign. Caravan Alchemy was such a doll to send me the all-in deluxe package of Andromeda's Edge. I'm doing my best to actually afford the Genesis expansion because I love supporting Cardboard Alchemy. They did a great job. They sent me this $300 base game for free. And also it is my favorite game of all time, easily without question. And it's right above Azul, because Azul is a great game, a lot of strategy to it, a lot of thought about it. But in regards to like overall board game playability, it does play a little bit less because it's mostly thinking almost like an abstract game like chess or Go or checkers, rather than the board game with a good theme that I personally enjoy. So even though Azul has such a great mindscape that I like being in, Scythe just puts players into very interesting positions and truly creates a fun time that's unique that I have not found in another board game. So just know that going my videos going forward. That's everything for today. I hope you like this. The videos I stitched over this were from our invaders from our I think it's called like Invasion of Fenris expansion. We're doing the 8-game campaign I told you about so far. I'll be posting our first 2 videos of the games. It's only about 90-minute video. I'm cutting it down a bit. They're very little, they're slightly edited for time because some things are repetitive, but if you'd like to watch that stuff, definitely subscribe. If you are very interested on any other games you'd like me to cover, comment them below. And other similar games that you enjoy, please let me know in the description of the video below. Like this video if you enjoy this video. Share it around if you want to see us cover more games and get noticed. Thanks for watching. Peace, have a great day. God bless. And I hope to see you at the table soon.